the babies. You have done it. You have gone out, picked out some seeds in the seed catalog, probably overdid it, but no judgment. You've maybe gotten your seed started mix. Maybe you made your own if you saw my video on that, and you got your setup right. And you're kind of like, okay, that was cute, but now what? This is where a lot of beginner gardeners mess up and, quite frankly, give up. Starting the seeds is the first step, and it is an important step to take. However, our babies need quite a bit of TLC. And so in today's video, I'm going to share with you how to properly care for your seedlings so, well, you don't kill them. This is part 2 of my Seed Starter Masterclass, where I'm bringing y'all along in real time as I start my seeds indoors all the way into planting. And so if you didn't catch part 1 of the series, I have linked it below. In that video, I answered commonly asked questions as relates to starting seeds indoors. I share with you my DIY seed starting mix, my setup. It also includes some free infographics for you to download. By the end of this video, you and your seedlings will be thriving. Let's go. The number one cause of death for seedlings is overwatering. Like us, plants' roots need oxygen to survive. When you overwater, you are suffocating them, you will rot them out, and overwatering provides the perfect environment for fungal growth and disease. Anytime you're about to water your plants, you want to know what to look for to assess whether it's actually needed. You know they need to be watered when the top becomes lighter in color, it becomes lighter in weight, and the edges start to slightly separate from the walls of the container. Remember, at this stage, your plant should not be showing any stress from underwatering because the middle and the bottom layer of your planting media should still be moist. Once the seeds have sprouted, I find the absolute best way to water is to bottom water. I go into detail in terms of how to do this in part 1 of this series, but essentially you're going to fill a seed tray with about 1 inch of water. It helps if you have 2 when you do this. And then you're just going to place the containers in the water, and once you see the top of the planting media start to turn dark in color, you're going to remove. Let's talk thinning. Typically, when you start seeds, you plant about 2 to 3 seeds per cell or container. This is to increase your chances of having at least one that germinates. Thinning is the process of removing plants that have grown too close together. This ensures that they aren't competing for nutrients and potentially stunning the growth of one another. It also provides better airflow, which we discussed in part 1 of this video is really important to prevent things like dampening off disease. Now, there are some plants that do just fine being grown really close together, especially if you're growing your seeds in just one of those really big seed starting trays like onions. But for the most part, most seedlings will do better with some growing room. When exactly to thin depends. For some, I will thin as soon as I see the first sprouts and just pick out the ones I want to keep. For others, I will actually wait until the plants grow a bit and thin down to the strongest one. And then thirdly, oftentimes I will let them grow large enough so that I can simply transplant one of the plants into another pot. I do this quite often, which is why I usually have more seedlings than I actually know what to do with. If you are thinning with the purpose of planting one of the plants that have been separated, you want to do so before the roots have become too far along in their development as not to shock and potentially kill off the plant. I will actually cut off some of the leaves to alleviate some of that stress because during the transplanting, you likely did damage some of the roots, and that would just alleviate a lot of that stress. So let's talk up potting. As plants grow, they will overgrow their container. That is why I try to plant as many plants as possible in a container that's large enough where I can plant them and sow them and take them all the way till it's time to transplant outside in my yard. Not only is this going to save you time, it's also going to minimize root disturbance. To clarify, you also don't want to start your seeds in a container that's too large because the seeds don't have roots yet. The soil just ends up staying moist and soggy and can create all types of issues. I found that one of those standard 2.5 inch cells work just fine for most plants. However, for certain plants like tomatoes, as well as any plants that grow really fast and are sensitive to having their roots disturbed, like cucumbers and squash, I will plant them in a slightly larger container. However, one of the few plants that I always up pot are tomatoes. That's because where the stem of the tomato comes in contact with moist planting media, it grows roots. This translates to a stronger, more robust root system and a plant that is going to be more vigorous and more resilient when planted outside. So how do you know when to up pot? For me, it's really easy. All I do is look under the container around the drainage holes, and when I start to see the roots peek through, then I know it's time to up pot. When deciding the size of container to up pot, you want to pay attention to the size of the root ball and not the size of the plant. I typically will up pot in a container that's about 1 to 2 inches larger than the root ball. You can get creative here. You can use the larger solo cups. I love these deeper seed pots, which can be really hard to come by. I will link them below if I can find a link to them. I got them at Walmart, but they're the 2-quart size, and they're really deep and really great from growing tomatoes. However, if you can't find them, no big deal. Get creative. For my tomatoes, I always bury a couple of inches along the stem, as we talked about earlier. Wherever the stem comes in contact with a moist planting media, it grows roots. I'll also add a bit of a well-balanced, slow-release organic fertilizer just to add a bit of nutrition to the mix. Seeds have all the nutrients required to support growth up until sprouting. After that, it begins to develop roots, and it's the roots that uptake nutrients and feed the plants. While the worm castings we added in our seed starting mix will give the plants a bit of a nutrient boost, it won't be enough to sustain the plant all the way up into transplanting. Unlike plants that are grown in ground or even in raised beds, plants that you are starting indoors are very limited into the nutrients that they have access to. Because of this, we need to feed our seedlings. We have to feed our babies, y'all. I prefer to use an organic liquid fertilizer where all the numbers of NPK are represented as close as possible. If it's not exact, it's okay. Unlike slow release organic fertilizers, which break down over time and makes nutrients readily available over extended periods of time, with liquid fertilizers, nutrients become instantly available to plants. I actually incorporate my fertilizer in my watering routine. I always get questions on the type of fertilizer I use. This is one of my favorite brands, hands down. I love their slow release fertilizers as well as their liquid fertilizers. Amazing quality at an amazing value. So highly recommend. I will usually add the liquid fertilizer at half strength. Whenever I water, I use this in combination of the BTI that I mentioned in my first video that helps with combating fungus gnat larvae. When fertilizing, I like to bottom water. Remember, you don't want the planting media to become soaked. And you're done. So you've gone through weeks of caring for your seedlings, giving them the love and all the TLC they need to thrive, and you go to plant them outside and they die. This is because you have missed a very important step. Up until now, your seedlings have lived a life of privilege and luxury. They have no clue what it's like to live out in the real world. In other words, they don't know struggle, specifically as it relates to the conditions of outside, from the UV rays from the sun, fluctuations in temperature, wind, and so much more. So if you go from giving them this life of luxury and instantly planting them outside, you are going to stress them out to the max and they are going to tap out. This is where hardening off becomes immensely important. Hardening off is a process of getting your seedlings acclimated to the outdoor conditions before planting them outside. This is a process you want to start 7 to 10 days ahead of when you're going to plant them outside. To harden off, you are going to start by taking your seedlings outside in an area that's partially shaded or gets dappled sunlight throughout the day. Before starting this, you want to avoid doing this during days that has extreme weather, whether that's extreme cold or hot, or if it's overly windy outside. You're going to leave them outside for about an hour. Each day, you're going to increase the time in which you leave them out there as well as the level of sun exposure. On days 2 through 3, I will actually put them out where they get eastern sun, which is the morning sun and the softest sun that you can give them. I'll leave them out for about an hour and a half to 2 hours, adding 30 minutes to an hour each day. On the 4th day, I will leave them out in just normal open sun, adding 30 minutes to an hour each day. I do this until the plant is able to sustain the sun for a full day without showing any signs of stress. It's normal if you do this and maybe the first day or two you see slight sunburn. Now, if they're like scorched, you either need to reduce the amount of time that you're leaving them out or the level of exposure, or maybe a combination of both. Once you have completed this, you have officially hardened off your plants and they are ready to be planted. I hope you're finding the information in this series helpful. Remember, if you haven't checked out part 1 of my Seed Starting Masterclass, it is linked below. And if you haven't already, don't forget to sign up for my free monthly newsletter where I share gardening tips, tricks, recipes, and a few other things along the way. I am trying not to become overwhelmed at the sheer amount of things I have to do and prep. I have got a ton of prep still to do in my garden for spring planting, which time has just gotten away from me. I realize is in a couple of weeks away. I've got to work on my garden floor, which is a weedy mess. I've got to get my arborist chips delivered, which I will be sure to bring y'all along and show you all how that process works. I've also got some beds that I need to clean up and amend, trees that I purchased that I need to plant that I haven't done. I still got to do my seedlings, and then life. So there's a lot of things, and being a party of 1 over here, I guess a party of 4 with my 3 fur babies, it ain't easy, but it is some of the most rewarding work that I have ever done in my life, and I am incredibly passionate about it, and I'm incredibly passionate about teaching you all how you can start your journey to some level of self-sufficiency. But y'all already know the deal. Don't forget to subscribe, and hit that bell. And remember, every black thumb ripens to green, and it all just starts with a seed.